Nation Nigerian. My name is Anthony Momodi. Welcome to this edition that promises to give you all the big stories you need to know. And we'll be looking at the local scene and also going to the foreign scene. On the local scene, we'll be looking at issues concerning the President's declaration and also Labour asking for 66,500 naira pay as the new minimum wage. Also, we'll be looking at Buhari extending the voluntary assets and income declaration scheme from March 30th to June 30th. What are the implications of this? We'll be finding out. And also, we're going to the foreign scene, looking at what's happening between the US and talking about Russia and Syria, and not forgetting the issue that occurred in Algeria, where 257 persons lost their life in a very deadly air crash. That and many more stories is what we'll be focusing on. Weekend Review. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, I'll be introducing my guests and we'll be chewing on the big stories.
Nigerians have tested political parties, religion and age. It is time to get a bridge builder to heal the wounds. Hassan Dan Kwambo. Under your watch as Executive Governor of Gombe State, you have been able to manage the state's resources in view of the numerous projects so far completed and the low statutory federal allocations accruable to the state. With your landmark achievements in healthcare, youth employment, women empowerment, road infrastructure, pipe-borne water, security, education and agricultural development, we are sure of a better Nigeria. 2019 is not about power or change, but rather it is about Dan Kwambo to replicate his humility and servant leadership. Dan Kwambo, Nigeria. Nigeria, Dan Kwambo.
All right, welcome back. It's now time for me to introduce my guest. No other person but Elder Emmanuel Okoro, who is the consultant to Babatin magazine and also has many years of experience in the media industry. Nice to have you join us on Weekend Review.
Thank you, Tony, for having me.
All right, let's kick-start our discourse from the home front. And the biggest news that hit us this week is the fact that President Muhammadu Buhari has declared his intention to seek re-election for the second bid, going against his initial promise before he got elected that he was going to seek for just one term. What do you think is the implication of this declaration?
Tony, number one, we thank God that the president is healthier and happier and stronger. That means he's able to put more time to issues of governance. Number two, it tells me that the Nigerian political climate will now be stimulated for more action. That will also impact the economy because the opposition party will now get ready. And number three, the third force now have a platform to really go into the public and seek for acceptance. Number four, the major opposition party, the PDP, it will stimulate them to get their acts together and provide a formidable political force to challenge the APC, because only the PDP has the power, the capacity, and the, if you like, the collapsed interests to be able to challenge the APC. They have largest number of political structures anywhere in Nigeria. So you would see that would happen. And I would say the fifth one, the tension in the land has now subsided and is cooled, so that those who are now the big boys, it's time for them to come. Now, last being number 6, it has brought impetus to the APC as a political machinery to come forward and do a lot of work. Yesterday, you remember, Chief George Moghalu gave a major press conference stimulating Nigerians to get ready to look at the viable legacies that the president left. As a friend of this station, I'll also say congratulations to Chief Moghalu. He's now the chairman of the Nicomsat, Nigeria's only satellite communication company that is doing a lot to ensure that what you and I are talking about can reach every Nigerian. And he has been given an onerous assignment to take Nigeria forward.
All right, let's go to the next big story that hit us this week. We had the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress come out with a declaration that 66,500 naira should be the new minimum wage. They had not succeeded in getting 56,000 passed through. Now they're saying 66,500 naira. How realistic is Labour being?
Obviously, Tony, this is part of our democratic challenges. The cost of living has gone very high. Cost of rent, paying school fees, transportation, housing and food. So Labour is not being unrealistic. The only problem is, how do you accommodate this humongous desire on a very weak economy at the moment? But let us say this, they are realistically on the waypoint of formal discussion so that we can achieve a midpoint.
Is the timing very strategic, and does it play to the favor of Labour, knowing that the president just declared his intention and this is a pre-election year? How strategic is the timing?
2 days ago, one banker, one famous Nigerian banker called Chief Marcus Muhabara, did explain clearly to Nigerians that because the president has declared and the APC has the headroom to compete, many other Nigerian groups will bring in their issues to the table so that when we come to the campaign issue, that which you have raised now will become a valid point for most political parties, knowing that the Labour is a major stakeholder in the political spectrum.
All right, let's go to the next big story that hit us this week. Also, we had the National Population Commission come out with the very staggering statistics that Nigeria is now 198 million people in the country, still making us the largest black nation in the world. Should that be positivity for Nigeria or negativity if you take into consideration that China, India have done positive things with their large population?
Yes. Now, Tony, to put it very mildly and briefly, Barrister Ezediri Homa, who's the chairman of the Population Commission, is giving us that figure. He's even helping politicians to form a strong database to base their planning on developing Nigeria and putting Nigeria forward. And you saw it yesterday when Dr. Moal mentioned that Nigeria's population has grown and the need to develop the knowledge industry. Take example, the NICOMSAT. You want to know how many people are you giving telecommunication service to, telemedicine, teleeducation, telesports. So that figure gives challenges to the performance and the operators of our economy to work on the future. You have something to work with. You don't work blindly.
All right, let's go to the next big story. Obviously, those who have not redeemed their tax are very happy when the president did extend the tax scheme from March 30th to June 30th. Is it fair enough that the federal government shifts the goalposts every time we're in the middle of an issue? Do you think it's for the good of Nigeria that the tax scheme, the time frame given for people to redeem their tax has been extended? We have the Minister of Finance saying that it's positive that the extension comes into place, since the idea is to get people to embrace and redeem their taxes.
Now, Tony, again, let me make it very brief. My opinion is that one of the great dividends of the Buhari administration is this VETS, because let me also say congratulations to Federal Inland Revenue Service led by Chief Fowler. They've raised several billions of naira, which were dormant. People were not paying their taxes. People were not paying taxes, income and on their goods. However, it is stimulating people now to say, go and pay your tax. Just willingly go and pay your tax. And remember that countries like Britain, Australia, Canada, Israel, they depend largely on the morality of people paying their tax, no matter how small. If you combine those things together, it will help to give the budget a boost to be able to develop Nigeria. So, we are not robots, Tony. Only machine, you can put a machine here and the machine stays. But when you drive towards the river, you discover that the river is overflowing. And you've already told people to come and wait for you on the other side of the river. But then it's overflowing its banks. You make up your mind because you're a human being and we're not infallible. So the president has now seen that that policy pronunciation has helped this government enough. And it is now helping people to say, we can now go and pay tax.
All right, talking about paying tax, a good one for the president there. All right, let's look at another very interesting comment that came out from the president's visit to London recently, where he was to hold very important meetings talking about the Commonwealth nations. The president said the farmers and headers clash is being perpetuated by men who were trained by Gaddafi. How disturbing is that revelation? And do you think critics have said the president is just playing a smart one, trying to divert the attention of Nigerians and the world from Fulani headsmen to Libyan forces?
Now, Tony, very briefly, if I give you a document produced by this banker, well, he's an APC chieftain. Okay. He gave 10 reasons why Nigerians should vote back the president. One of them he mentioned was his integrity as a man who speaks truth to power. Now, before the president, we heard this from his mouth. There were speculations. Why is there the speed now in this headsman-farmers clash? Until the president got vital information, according to Mark Wambara. The information at the disposal of the president is that, look at the collaborative forces fighting Nigerians, and that these are things that we should deal with. This information has been gotten to the president. The president doesn't open up his mouth to speak what is not sure. That's why they call him Megaskia Nigeria. So what he's speaking is based on correct facts at his table.
All right, one of the last stories we're taking on the local scene has to do with the recent issue, trending in the education sector as regards sex for marks, which are called in the Obafemi Awolowo University. A very sad commentary at that. We heard the news that one professor, Akindele, solicited for sex from a student, female student, for him to give her marks, and said it had to be on 5 different occasions. And that was where the student said a big no, and it generated a lot of issues. And looking at the fact that we're talking about a professor being accused here, and the VC of the school, also a prof, do you think the alliance of that professorship being in the same boat might stall a very decent investigation? Now,
Tony, that gives you an insight into the collapse and degradation in our education system. Professor Tony Amuka, who is the Minister of State for Education, is very worried. And I said to him, don't get worried, because it's good that you know that this element, it was there when we were in school, this sexual harassment is a blight on our political system and blight on our education, but it's not new. Many professors have been doing these things in the dark. And because of the Buhari phenomenon, people can now come up. Before, nobody can come and tell the professor, you demanded for sex. But I can tell you, it means we need to do more work, protect our young girls, protect our females, and institute a level of inquiry that is beyond partisan politics, so that we could now say, how do we deal with this sexual harassment in our education system? It's happening. Just one case only, but I can say that tells the Minister of Education he has more work cut out for him.
All right, the fact that there's an audio evidence, if the prof gets caught free,
yes,
would that be a very bad signal?
Now, let me say this: I'm not in the judiciary, okay. But let me repeat what I've been saying here. Chief Mohale mentioned it when he had the International World Conference, that the Nigerian population has far outgrown simple manipulation. You can't manipulate the media. The media is towing the line and we're following. Remember, there was a time when somebody went to the judiciary. He was accused. And he was given a slight judgment of paying 750,000 for stealing 20-something billion. In the next 24 hours, Nigerians rose and said to the judge, you can't do that. And immediately stimulated the judiciary to say, no, we will take that case again. Tony, that case was taken again, and that same man who was found guilty to pay 750 out of 22 billion, he was told that he was going to go to prison for 5 years and refund 21.7 billion. So that anybody playing with Nigeria, that's what Morgan always means to anybody. Don't play with the Nigerian electorate. Educate them, be at this par with them, synergize with them, so that when you have an issue, they can understand and see with you.
All right, then we'll go for a very quick break now. When we come back, we'll go straight to the foreign scene where we look at all the big stories taking place in the US, in Syria, in Algeria, and other places across the world.
For almost a decade, the Nigerian army have given their all to ensure that our dear country is not overrun by Boko Haram insurgents. Some have in the process paid the ultimate price, while many will forever live with indelible scars occasioned by their determination to protect the country, no matter the hurdle. Despite these, they have remained resolute and undaunted, and today, all territories the insurgents once took control of have been recaptured and normalcy restored. And now, for the first time in a long time, the end of Boko Haram is foreseeable. Therefore, the wisest thing for the remaining insurgents to do is to surrender today or face total destruction from the army. Remember, the Nigerian army will stop at nothing to ensure that total peace is restored in all parts of the country. So, be wise and embrace peace today or get ready to be ruthlessly dealt with. This message is brought to you by the Coalition on Conflict Resolution and Human Rights in Nigeria.
All right, welcome back from that quick break. You're still watching Weekend Review on Television Nigerian. My name is Anthony Momodu, and I've been talking. My guest on today's show has been Elder Emmanuel Okoro, who is the consultant to Verbatim magazine, helping us look at all the big stories that made this week truly thick and interesting. Let's go to the foreign scene. All right, let's go straight to the first. Let's go to London, where the president was in UK, and we saw the protest by Nigerians in diaspora. What struck you when you saw that protest?
Well, number one, I want to tell you, Tony, let me break two pieces of information for you. My editors are in London now.
Okay.
Because number one, the Verbatim magazine is going to honor one governor in Abia State as the most deserving governor of the year. And they sent me that story that look at what happened in London while we're trying to connect our guests to the honoring of Governor Igbaz of Abia State in April this year. Now, two things happened. I kept saying, Tony, our democracy is growing. That the protests happening in London, I'm not sad about it because everybody cannot support the President Buhari. In New York, over 60,000 people protested against Trump. Trump says, yes, I have heard you. Remember also that Idibia wanted to protest about the cost of living in Nigeria. Yeah. The vice president said, we've heard you loud and clear. In democracy, you must always synergize with the minority or the majority.
So do you disagree with the federal government who says it was the looters, those in the looters list that stage managed that protest?
Oh no, I disagree totally. I am a supporter of Megascare Nigeria, the president. But when you say looters, no. Even if he was doing too well, even if the president was doing too, Obama had protests, Nixon had protests. Most people, most leaders in the world, you use the public pause to gauge your performance. So I take the looters out of this game.
All right. Let's go to Algeria. 257 lives lost. We're talking about a military aircraft. Algerian soldiers and their family members who went to seek medical treatment coming back. In fact, the plane, as it just took off, it crashed. What do you think there's a conspiracy somewhere, or it's just the negligence of African leaders and their military officers?
No, clearly, Tony, my heart bleeds for the people of Algeria. To lose more than 200 soldiers of various ranks, it's not easy. And we pray to God that their souls will rest in peace. I'm happy that the government swung into action immediately to say that a high-powered probe is on now to discover the cause of the
crash.
And until we get the results from their probe, we're not going to be able to ascertain the cause of the crash. But it's good enough that they're doing 3-day mourning beginning from today. And also, they will make sure that what were the causes of the crash will not repeat itself again.
All right, let's go to the U.S. We've got the U.S., the Russia, and the Syria equation. We just got Trump again tweeted telling Russia, be ready, the missiles are coming. They're going to come smart, nice, and new. For you, looking at that statement, are you worried the world might just experience another world war?
No, yes, I can tell you, Tony, I lived and studied in the United States. Their leaders cannot go to war without seeking the consent of the Congress. Right. And the Congress is there to check the president. However, it tells Russia that the most powerful nation on earth, the United States, is not pleased about the use of chemical weapons on civilians. And that will keep them checked. And remember, too, that the international community is watching. But knowing who Trump is, he's always free to cause you. Remember when he said he was going to descend on North Korea with fire and fury, never heard in human history. Now there's no fire, there's no fury. Now they are going to talk in May. So I think that the world leaders have been cautioning the two presidents to take it easy.
All right, let's see if we can learn some lessons from the U.S. House Congress Speaker in the person of Paul Ryan, who says he's not going to come back, he's not going to seek a re-election. Why is it easy for Americans and other developed clients to step out when their time is due?
Now, Tony, let me make it brief. Number one, our democracy is growing. Number two, the mass media should not begin to start this call. That is the evidence of democracy in Nigeria. Take example, the Minister of Agriculture and some other non-performing ministers. The media should have been asking them to go home. Take an example, it's only Dr. Bonayono has been receiving accolades from the Nigerian mass media as a performing minister. Out of 36, the most, and Adamu has joined now, the Minister of FCT. If you have not performed to the expectation of your people, you're morally bound to resign and go home. I gave you an example. The federal government took Chief Mohalo and said, a man fit and capable enough to take the onus of being the chairman of NICOMSAT, the highest authority on satellite communication in the whole of Africa. They say, we take Mohalo because he's a performer. And he promised that he's going to take NICOMSAT beyond expansion of Nigeria. And I'm saying here, we in the media must bring, I name names, Honorable Nen Nukeje, who is in the House representing my own constituency, Bende. And we have the worst erosion problems. That's why there's no headsman clashes in my place, because headsman can't go to erosion. We have been calling on her to go home. She's responded by saying, this call is too much, I won't run again. She's been there for 12 long years. And my people, I come from a place called Ozuitem in Bende, local government area of Abia State. It's the worst eroded place in the whole of Abia. Yet our farmers' crops can't come to the town for use by people, because the House of Rep representing me cannot bring the story to the executive. Say, Ozuitem people have erosion and road problems. Why don't you help them? This is what a woman who represents me hasn't done for 12 years. She could not wake up one morning and it's been saying in the media, but we are waiting. My friend Dino Melaye, if his program succeeds, you will see that my people will go to her and say, we are trying to pull you out. We don't even want you to complete your tenure. Even though she's saying, allow me to complete my tenure. But she's a huge failure. So we are learning lessons that if you have fallen out of repute with your people, you be honest enough. Can you imagine a speaker from American Congress? He's one of the most powerful men on earth who has greater influence, saying, I am willingly going to go away.
All right, let's wrap it up on the foreign scene with the last story. We're looking at the Russian spy who has gotten well, talking about Yulia Skripal getting better and saying that she doesn't want anything to do with the Russian people for now. All right, let's look at Yulia Skripal's utterances saying she doesn't want any help from the Russian Federation until she's fully fit. She's not going to grant any media interviews. Is Russia's insistence on getting close to Yulia a suspicious one? And for her saying she doesn't want anything to do with the Russian people, how disturbing is this?
It is very disturbing, Tony, because number one, that young girl is daughter of a man. And it's like what happened yesterday. Somebody from Juventus kicked the leg of a player from Real Madrid. And the man was really in pain. And he came back and told him, sorry. But he kicked him intentionally, and that ended him a penalty. And he came back and said, I'm sorry I kicked you. For Russia to plan to hurt a man and his daughter, hey, is heinous. They could have died before now. And for the same person to come, may I help you? I will reject the help with venom. She wants to get better, and we thank God for advances in technology and medicine. Otherwise, listen, Tony, the young girl and the dad, they would have been buried a long time ago, because it's dangerous to use those nerve agents on human beings. And how they penetrated England or UK to do that. So we are praying to God that God will give that young lady greater energy, so that we are learning lessons now, and so that she can get better, and she will reveal certain things to us. That's why you, as you said, is suspicious that the Russians who did it or who are suspected to have done it still wanting to get near the lady. They would have wanted to eradicate her, so that all traces of information cannot be done. But I'm happy it's happening that way.
All right, we'll go for another quick break. When we come back, we'll be wrapping up the program with the comments and the story of the week.
Welcome to Living Treasures Academy. Enjoy a conducive and serene learning environment. Qualified and experienced teachers. Equipped computer laboratory and library. Secured atmosphere. Extracurricular activities. An all-embracing curriculum for total development of the child. Comprehensive education for leadership. Join us today from crèche to secondary levels. Living Treasures Academy, committed to excellence.
All right, nice to know you're still watching Weekend Review on television Nigerian. My name is Anthony Momodu, and we've been speaking with Elder Emmanuel Okoro, who has taken us through his views on all the big stories that has made this week truly very interesting. All right, let's get, what would you describe as your comment of the week and your story of the week?
My story of the week is the president's decision to run and why he's running. And I want to thank people like Mark Mwabara, because there are some patriots who have come out. Before Nigerians said they did not know why the president was running, Mark Mwabara has given us 2 palms. Each palm, he counted 10 concrete things. Each palm, 5 concrete things. So for me, my biggest comment is democracy is winning in Nigeria, because your position, the APC ruling party, there's an excitement in the air that our political system will now receive some rejigging for 2019.
All right, let's just get your thoughts on this. A lot of critics have said the recent approval of loads of funds by the federal government, by the president, is as regards the closeness of the election year. Do you agree with that line of thought?
The presidency, again, has come out with a clear denunciation that the president has not approved that release. Because remember, there is an ongoing executive legislative rift. And I'm worried, Tony, it's prolonged now. We were with Saraki last week. He made very great statements that pained me. He says, we can't work with an executive that does not want to cooperate with us. That's not good for our democracy. The judiciary, the executive, and the legislature must work because they are part and parcel of one government. So all I can say to that is, one, I will appeal strongly that the presidency should hire more experienced public relations experts and media managers and marketers to husband the president and deal with him so that he can be linked with every vital aspect of the Nigerian system. As at now, one area that is filled with flaw in the Nigerian system is the lacuna between the president and the people he's administering. You remember that he has only spoken to the media only once in the last 3 years. So we are saying when he wins again, there should be a closer interaction between us. You can see that Trump tweets every day because he sees Americans as important. And he says, America first. The same way, we Nigerian people will matter to our president.
All right, on that very clarion call and note, we are going to wrap it up on Weekend Review on Television Nigeria. My name is Anthony Momodu, saying thank you for joining me on this very exciting note, and special thanks to Eda Emmanuel Okoye for always being awesome and very patriotic in his analysis of all the big stories making the rounds right here in Nigeria and also on the global scene. See you next week for another awesome edition